It's strange, isn't it? How two people who once talked until sunrise can now sit in the same room and say nothing. The same silence that once felt peaceful now feels heavy, almost deafening. You start to wonder if the connection ever meant what you thought it did. There's a moment, right before words disappear, when you feel the shift. The air changes. Messages slow down. Smiles fade. And then, without a fight, without closure, silence moves in and takes over. You tell yourself it's fine, that maybe you both just need space. But deep down, you know something is different. Something unspoken is growing louder every day. And yet, here's the truth no one talks about: silence doesn't just end things. It transforms them. It forces you to listen, not to them, but to yourself. Because when two people go silent, something inside both of them changes. Sometimes, it's the beginning of distance. Other times, it's the birth of understanding. But one thing is certain: after the silence, nothing ever feels the same again. You know that feeling when everything just stops? When the constant messages, the long calls, and the small check-ins suddenly fade away. You stare at your phone, waiting for a text that never comes. You start thinking, maybe they've moved on. Maybe I meant less to them than they did to me. That's the illusion. The quiet between two people feels like the end. But it isn't always. We're taught to believe that silence means something's broken. That if someone isn't talking, they've stopped caring. But that belief is built on fear, not truth. Because sometimes, silence isn't rejection, it's reflection. It's two people lost in the noise of their own thoughts, trying to make sense of what they feel. You stop reaching out, thinking they don't care. They stop reaching out, thinking you don't want them anymore. Both waiting for the other to move first. Both missing what used to feel so easy. That's how silence becomes a wall built for misunderstanding. But here's the irony: you both still care. You both still replay old conversations in your mind. You both still check each other's pages, scroll a little too long, and then pretend you don't. The silence doesn't erase the bond, it just hides it under layers of pride, confusion, and unspoken fear. You want to say something. Anything. But your ego whispers, don't be the first to break. So you swallow your words and let another day pass. Then another. Until silence feels safer than vulnerability. But safety is deceptive. Silence becomes the easy choice, the one that protects your pride but hurts your peace. You tell yourself it's better this way. That if they cared, they would have reached out. But what if they're thinking the same thing about you? The truth is, silence isn't proof of disconnection. It's proof that both of you are human. Both trying to protect what's left of your dignity. Both afraid of giving more love than you'll receive. That's where most people get it wrong. We think communication keeps relationships alive, and yes, it does. But it's not just about words, it's about courage. The courage to reach out even when you're unsure. The courage to say, I miss you, without expecting anything back. Because silence can be a test, and most people fail it. They mistake stillness for indifference. But in reality, silence is where emotions breathe. It's where the truth starts to rise to the surface, slowly, painfully, beautifully. It's strange how the same silence that hurts you can also heal you. It forces you to stop chasing validation. It makes you listen to your inner voice. The one that says, maybe you were too dependent. Maybe you forgot who you were before them. And maybe, just maybe, this quiet isn't about losing them. Maybe it's about finding yourself again. Because silence has layers. On the surface, it looks cold. But underneath, it's honest. It's the space where people figure out what truly matters. Sometimes, the reason they went silent isn't because they stopped caring, it's because they didn't know how to express what they felt anymore. Sometimes, love doesn't disappear, it just gets quieter. It hides behind overthinking, insecurity, or exhaustion. And if you've ever been the one who went silent, you know this truth well. It's not that you didn't care. It's that you didn't know how to explain the storm inside you. The words just didn't seem enough. You wanted peace, but you didn't know how to ask for it without sounding cold. You wanted distance, but you didn't want to hurt them. So you said nothing. But silence always says something, it just doesn't use words. It says, I'm thinking. It says, I'm scared. It says, I need space to feel safe again. When you start to see silence for what it truly is, a mirror instead of a wall, everything shifts. You begin to understand that it's not always punishment, sometimes, it's pause. The space life gives you to see things clearly. And in that space, you'll notice something powerful. Silence doesn't erase love, it reveals its strength. If it's fragile, it fades. If it's real, it waits. So maybe you shouldn't rush to fill the silence. Maybe you should listen to it instead. Because inside that stillness, you'll hear everything that words once tried to hide, the truth about what you feel, what you need, and who you've become. When you stop fearing silence, you stop chasing noise. You stop trying to prove your worth through responses, likes, or replies. You learn to sit in the quiet, and suddenly, it doesn't feel so heavy anymore. Because silence, when embraced, transforms. It turns uncertainty into understanding. It turns absence into awareness. It turns distance into direction. So the next time someone goes quiet, don't rush to fill the void. Don't assume it's over. Sometimes, silence is simply the space where two souls learn to breathe on their own, before finding their way back to each other. Because the illusion that silence means disconnection is just that, an illusion. In truth, silence can be the beginning of something deeper, something wiser, something real. Silence can start as distance, but over time, it becomes a mirror. It stops being about them, and starts being about you. At first, you replay every detail. Every text. Every word. Every moment that might explain what went wrong. But then something shifts. The silence stretches long enough that you stop analyzing them and start noticing yourself. You begin to ask, why do I need their words to feel whole? Why do I let someone else's absence define my peace? That's the breakdown. It's the moment you realize the real conversation isn't happening between two people, it's happening inside your own mind. This is where psychology and philosophy collide. The human mind craves certainty. When someone goes quiet, your brain panics. It fills the silence with stories, stories that often aren't true. You think, they must not care. Or, I must have done something wrong. But Stoicism teaches something different. It reminds you that you don't control what they feel or say. You only control your response. That's not weakness. That's power. Every relationship teaches you two lessons, how to connect, and how to let go. The second one is always harder. But silence is the bridge between the two. It forces you to confront your attachment, to look at how much of your peace depends on someone else's presence. And the truth hurts, most of us aren't addicted to people. We're addicted to the comfort they give us. The validation. The sense that we matter. When that disappears, we mistake discomfort for rejection. But Stoicism whispers, you suffer more in imagination than in reality. Think about that. Half of your pain doesn't come from what's happening, it comes from what you're imagining. Silence teaches emotional control the hard way. It exposes your impatience, your need for reassurance. It shows you every part of yourself that still needs healing. It asks, can you stay calm even when answers don't come? Because peace isn't found in getting closure. Peace is found in choosing not to need it. That's the Stoic test, holding your center when everything around you feels uncertain. In these quiet moments, your ego will fight back. It will beg you to text first, to chase, to demand explanations. It will tell you that silence means you lost. But silence doesn't mean loss. It means choice. It means you've stopped arguing with reality. And when you stop arguing, you finally start seeing clearly. The mind calms. You start remembering things you forgot, your hobbies, your peace, your own voice. You start realizing that your worth didn't vanish with their absence. It was always yours, it just got buried under noise. It's easy to love someone else loudly. It's harder to love yourself quietly. And that's what this silence demands of you. It asks, can you find comfort in your own company? Can you let someone drift away without chasing what's not meant to stay? That's emotional strength, not indifference, not coldness, but peace rooted in understanding. Every silent night is a test of patience and ego. You'll want to fill it with distractions, messages, or excuses. But the strongest thing you can do is to let it be empty for a while. Because in emptiness, you rediscover balance. It's strange, how silence that once felt unbearable becomes the very thing that heals you. The moment you stop trying to control outcomes, you begin to feel free. Freedom doesn't always come wrapped in happiness. Sometimes it comes in quiet acceptance. The Stoics believe that peace comes from living in harmony with nature, with what is, not what should be. So when someone grows distant, it's not your job to pull them back. It's your duty to stay balanced. The silence becomes your training ground. Each day you endure it without resentment, you grow. Each time you choose calm over chaos, you strengthen your mind. You stop reacting. You start responding. And that's when you realize something profound: the silence wasn't punishing you, it was preparing you. Preparation for what? For the next version of you. The version that doesn't need constant affirmation. The one who understands that love is a gift, not a guarantee. The one who knows that peace is not given by others, it's built within. This breakdown isn't destruction, it's reconstruction. The breaking of old patterns so something stronger can emerge. You'll start to see that silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. You'll see that the distance didn't erase the bond, it revealed its limits. And you'll understand that every quiet moment carries a message. What's meant for you will meet you halfway. Until then, you focus on your side of the bridge. You nurture your growth, your calm, your peace. So if you're in that space right now, the silence after connection, remember this. It's okay to miss them. It's okay to feel the ache. But don't let it break you. Let it build you. Because this is not the end of your story. It's just the part where you learn how to stand on your own. And when you do, you'll look back and realize that the silence didn't destroy you. It freed you. The silence stripped away the noise, so you could finally hear the truth. Now, it's time to shift. To see the world not through emotion, but through understanding. Something changes when you stop fighting the silence. At first, it feels like surrender. But with time, you realize, it's not surrender. It's wisdom. This is the Stoic shift. The moment when pain turns into perspective. You stop asking, why did they pull away, and start asking, what is this teaching me? That single change in question transforms everything. Because Stoicism doesn't teach you to suppress emotion, it teaches you to understand it. You still feel the hurt, the emptiness, the confusion. But instead of letting those emotions control you, you observe them. You learn from them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Those words hit differently when you're in the middle of silence. Because suddenly, you see how little control you truly have over other people. You can't force someone to care. You can't rush someone's healing. But you can choose how you respond to their distance. You can choose patience over panic. Reflection over reaction. That's what makes this silence sacred. You start noticing small shifts inside you. Where there used to be anxiety, there's calm. Where there used to be questions, there's understanding. You begin to realize that peace isn't given to you, it's practiced. It's built, one quiet choice at a time. This is where emotional mastery begins. The Stoics believe that life constantly tests us. Every silence, every heartbreak, every unanswered question, it's all part of that training. They saw obstacles not as barriers, but as opportunities to strengthen the mind. In their words, the obstacle is the way. So instead of seeing this silence as rejection, you start seeing it as refinement. The universe is teaching you how to be whole without validation. It's reminding you that peace built on someone else's presence is fragile, but peace built on inner control is unshakable. You begin to see how much energy you once spent trying to control what was never yours to begin with. Their feelings. Their choices. Their silence. And now, for the first time, you reclaim that energy. You pour it into yourself. Into growth. Into stillness. It's not easy. The mind resists. It wants to reach back, to fix, to chase. But you learn to pause and ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, you let it go. That's freedom. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from expectations. Freedom from emotional dependency. The Stoic shift is about acceptance, not resignation. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care wisely. You stop begging for answers from others, and start listening to your own clarity. You realize that love doesn't have to end for silence to begin. Sometimes love just changes shape, it becomes respect, gratitude, or distance. And that's okay. When you accept that truth, you stop clinging. You stop demanding closure. You stop chasing peace through other people. You start becoming peace. The silence begins to serve you instead of haunting you. You start using it to think clearly, to reflect, to grow. You find beauty in solitude, not loneliness in it. You remember who you were before the noise. You rebuild your boundaries. You learn to protect your peace without needing approval. This is where strength and serenity meet. The silence that once felt unbearable now feels like clarity. Stoicism isn't about pretending not to feel, it's about understanding that feelings are temporary. They rise and fall like waves. And you are the shore. You don't chase the waves, you let them come and go. That's the power of detachment. Not coldness, but composure. You learn to love without losing yourself. You learn to care without clinging. You learn that silence doesn't always mean goodbye, it sometimes means growth. Think about it. The most profound transformations don't happen in chaos. They happen in calm. Seeds grow in silence. Healing happens in quiet. And in that same quiet, you're growing too, even if you can't see it yet. So instead of filling the silence, you start listening to it. You let it teach you patience, perspective, and strength. And slowly, the question changes again, from, why did they go silent, to, what am I learning from this stillness? That's when you realize, you've crossed over. You've shifted from reacting emotionally to responding with understanding. From being broken by silence to being built by it. The Stoic shift isn't loud. It doesn't happen all at once. It's quiet, gentle, steady. Like the dawn after a long night. And when it finally arrives, you don't need closure anymore. You've already found it, inside yourself. Silence no longer feels like loss. It feels like space. Space to breathe, to heal, to become whole again. This is where the journey changes direction. From pain to peace. From noise to wisdom. You've been through the storm, haven't you? The silence tested you. It stripped away your illusions. It forced you to confront who you are when no one is validating you, when love isn't reassuring you, and when words have run out. But here's what most people never realize, silence doesn't end things. It reveals them. It reveals who clings and who releases. Who blames and who reflects. Who loves from need, and who loves from depth. When both people go silent, it's not always the death of connection. Sometimes, it's the rebirth of understanding. Because silence, if embraced, becomes the bridge between two evolved souls. It's where you begin to see clearly, no longer clouded by reaction, pride, or fear. You start to understand that peace doesn't always come from talking it out. Sometimes, it comes from stepping back long enough to hear what your heart has been whispering all along. And in that quiet, you rediscover something rare, yourself. You stop chasing clarity from others because you find it within. You stop demanding closure because you understand the truth, silence was the closure. Every unanswered text, every pause in conversation, every late-night thought that kept you awake, they all carried a message. A silent one. It said, you can let go now. That's the beauty of this stillness. It doesn't shout for attention. It teaches patience. It strengthens your emotional discipline. It shows you that healing doesn't always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it's just you, breathing again. And when you've finally made peace with that silence, something shifts. The energy changes. You're no longer trying to control what's meant to flow. You're no longer chasing people to fill your emptiness. Instead, you carry calm where chaos once lived. And ironically, that's when things begin to change. Because when you no longer need to speak to be understood, people begin to listen differently. When you no longer fight to be seen, your presence begins to speak louder than words ever could. That's the quiet strength of Stoicism. It's not about emotional coldness, it's about emotional control. It's the ability to sit in discomfort without losing your center. It's the courage to face distance without collapsing into need. It's the wisdom to understand that silence isn't rejection, it's refinement. And maybe, just maybe, in that silence, both of you are learning the same lesson in different rooms. You're both growing. You're both healing. You're both learning to love better. Not from a place of fear, but from a place of freedom. Because love, when it's real, doesn't always need constant reassurance. It finds strength in stillness. It learns to rest in the unspoken. So, if you're in that silent phase right now, don't rush it. Don't try to fill it with noise or distraction. Let it do its work. Let it humble you. Let it cleanse your expectations. Let it shape you into someone who no longer crumbles in uncertainty. Because the truth is, silence changes everything. Not because it ends things, but because it transforms them. It reveals strength where weakness used to live. It creates space where chaos once ruled. And most importantly, it shows you that peace isn't found in someone else, it begins within you. So the next time you both go silent, don't panic. Don't assume the worst. Sit in it. Listen to it. Because in that quiet space between words, something powerful is happening. You're both evolving. And when that silence finally breaks, it won't be the same conversation, it'll be two stronger souls speaking from truth, not fear. That's when everything changes.